And good evening. Great to have you tonight on the 6:30. I'm Sean Owsley. Tonight's 360 report bringing a different perspective on the wide-ranging and heated topic of data centers. The high-tech computing facilities have, as you well know, been the subject of local and heated debate for weeks after Vista Utilities was in conversation to potentially bring a large facility with a huge power draw to the Spokane area. The response, visceral, heated, strong opinions on a potential data center from so many of you. We've shared some of your comments made before the City Council passed an ordinance approving a one-year moratorium on data centers within the Spokane city limits. Here's some of those comments. Becky calling for a permanent ban on anything that would use the Spokane aquifer. Will saying the only way this should be allowed is with a pledge to lower overall energy prices. And Bob weighing in, saying make the developer of the data center foot all costs. There are numerous widespread concerns, ones that Avista and other organizations have tried to address. Water usage, power draw. Usually the two main topics immediately when discussing a data center. In an effort for balance to hear from all sides, the Taxpayers Protection Alliance is pushing back on the claim that data centers are consuming massive amounts of water and electricity, saying that information is dated. Here's my one-on-one detailed interview with Marchand, the executive director of the TPA. Well, thanks for being with us. We are talking about data centers, and to say this is a polarizing, controversial issue across the U.S. right now, I think would be an understatement. Of course, it's been in the circles of conversation here in the Inland Northwest. Vista was considering a large power customer. They decided to put that on hold. Our city council doing a one-year moratorium so they can study it more. Big picture, what are you seeing, and what do you think people need to hear when it comes to data centers in their community?
Data centers hold so much promise and opportunity to bring jobs and tax revenue wherever they are set up. The problem is misinformation is holding these projects back.
Let's talk about that misinformation. And I do want to be clear here and transparent. Your people reached out to us for this interview. You are nonpartisan. Do you skew conservative?
We call balls and strikes. We just try to keep the government honest. We need to hold policymakers accountable regardless of political party.
And Ross, I do want to give you a chance to respond before we get into the details of the data centers. Some organizations, including the Energy and Policy Institute, say you're backed by people that want to build these data centers. Specifically, they mentioned the powerful Koch brothers. Your response to that?
We respect the privacy of our donors. We do not disclose our donors. However, look, we're calling balls and strikes, and we really just want to make sure that the public has the truth, has all the facts about these data center projects.
All right, let's get into the details of the data center's big picture. Obviously, we were immersed in it over the last couple of weeks in this conversation. Specifically, it was probably the #1 trending post on our social media accounts, and a wide range of strong opinions of people weighing in. Obviously, water use, energy consumption, the two big ones. I've read some of your literature. You say that is not an issue. That is more myth than fact.
Exactly. It's misinformation, pure and simple. There's so many allegations about water and electricity use. People are saying the data centers are guzzling up all the water and all the electricity. But for our analysis of Washington State, we find that water use is only 0.6% for data centers, and that figure for electricity use is 4.1%. So very, very far from some of these allegations being trotted out about data centers.
Specifics, background of the study. How did you come to that conclusion?
Sure. So we rely extensively on government figures, and we rely on net generation electricity figures that are reported by countless independent outlets. And we make sure that all the information is taken into account in our estimates, and we publish it on our website.
A lot of people referring to previous data centers. Obviously, technology advances exponentially right now, but some data centers in the past were huge power draws, and also the water was an issue.
Well, look, it's very easy to make those allegations and to point out specific instances. We've done a lot of myth busting. So we release on a weekly basis these videos drawing attention to some of these specific claims, and almost entirely false. And we draw attention to people saying, oh, water use is out of control, but clearly the statistics do not bear that out. Again, 0.6%. In a lot of states, it's even lower.
Okay, let's play hypothetical then. Let's say down the road, Avista moves forward, our city council approves. Perspective on the water issue itself. Give us maybe a comparison, a parallel that everybody listening to this interview would understand about how much water is needed, because the key issue is about 40% of these data centers are cooling, and the other 40% obviously is computing.
So we're talking in most cases with these data centers, not even one golf course worth of water consumption, or you could look at it as a really big store like a Target or a Walmart, equivalent to that amount of water use. But the Targets and the Walmarts and the golf courses in the world, I mean, no one is drawing attention to their water use, which, by the way, is reasonable. It makes sense that a big store or a big company or a golf course is going to use a decent amount of water that is more than residential use. But what we see time and time again, these data center projects are being singled out for water use that is not, in fact, inordinate.
And the power draw. We've seen rolling blackouts along the West Coast. California hit very hard. Parts of Texas as well in recent memory. The power draw of these data centers, obviously a major concern for people who live in the area. They voiced that to us directly and strongly.
Sure, and it's a very, very small percentage of overall electricity use, both locally, statewide, and across the country. And what we see over time is innovation puts that figure downward as it makes it easier to generate energy and electricity at scale. And what a lot of these data center projects are proposing doing, and what they are doing, is they're building their own power generation on site, so they don't even need to connect to the grid in the first place.
Now to our Big Six.